All right. All right, welcome in. Hanna Time. Cornelius Brad Hanna, Global Sports Broadcasting Network. Coming to you on many social media platforms. We'll get to all that in a second. But we've got a big show for you. I'm excited about it. Lots of good stuff about the NFL, the FIFA, soccer, baseball, the Arizona Cardinals, a big baseball signing tonight, a big one, and much more. You know, I'm going to give you a 30-second. I'm going to kind of get you warmed up with 30 seconds. I'm going to bring you back in, and then we're going to talk about the show, and then we're going to get into it real deep, real far. All righty. Hanna Time in 30. All right, welcome back in. Hanna Time, Cornelius Brad Hanna on a Thursday here. And, lots of changes. Lots of changes across the board in the NFL, injuries, Major League Baseball, big free agent signings. Locally here in Arizona, we have a lot of issues with, general manager. Is he stepping away? The Arizona Cardinals quarterback gets hurt. Changes, as David Bodie would say. And we're going to get into this more about the Cardinals at the top. Then we're going to work our way through the NFL. I want to talk about flag football also. There's a big deal about the NFL really pushing this program a lot more globally. I was just kind of not really digging in. I'll tell you why. But, the NFL going flag in a different way. Arizona Cardinals must heal for 2023. This is a healing time and regrouping time for the Arizona Cardinals. We'll talk about that right away. The NFL teams, quarterback disarray across the NFL. So many teams that you can look at right now as we're projecting into 2023. There's a lot of uncertainty at the starting quarterback position. And you wonder about how many quarterbacks are out there to fill these roles. I mean, we'll talk about the Rams. I mean, Stafford, is he coming back? His health is a big deal right now. The New York Jets, they have a young quarterback, but, a lot of controversy there. The Ravens, Lamar Jackson, hey, he's a free agent, right? He's doing the Aaron Judge thing. He's going to bank on himself, and so far it's gone well, but he is injured also. The Colts, the Texans, the Broncos, Russell Wilson, hello, where are you, buddy? The Raiders, Derek Carr's a free agent, so the Raiders looking around maybe. The Lions, Jared Goff, but he's having a pretty good year. But are they going to be satisfied with Jared Goff? The Packers, Aaron Rodgers, is he staying? Is he going? What's going on? The Commanders, are they satisfied? Can they, with a better quarterback, get to the next level? Sure. The Buccaneers, Tom Brady, is he done? Is he moving on, right? The Saints, got nobody. The Falcons, oh man, big issue with Maricopa this week. And the Panthers, and all the way down the line, there's a few more, but like half the league going into next year. We're going to talk about that. Plus the NFL draft order, just kind of molding itself now. Yeah, if you're one of those teams that are just looking forward to next season, start looking. That's the thing you're looking at. Do you want to keep losing, or kind of just getting, do you want the 16th pick or do you want the 5th pick? That's where we're going with this. All right. Baseball free agency, a big signing, New York Yankees. We'll get to that. And some trades also. World Cup soccer, the finals, big names in the finals, soccer news, and this Iran thing, whatever, it's just running across all over the sports world itself. Very, very disturbing news. More coming out today about more killings and sports related. It's just sick and stupid, but we'll talk about that. I got a lot to talk about that too. But you can watch all this right now right here on Facebook or Roku TV, ASAP Sports Network, Twitch. How about on YouTube with Global Sports, GSPN TV podcast there. Also Instagram, Momentu Plus, Viva Network, Tiki TV, Herogotv TV, LinkedIn. and of course, Global Sports Broadcasting Network itself. It's Hanna Time, and it's live right now. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about this a little bit with the Cardinals. As we know, some big news already. I mean, your quarterback goes down, right? And then you got the news about Steve Keim, the general manager. And, when you think about the 3Ks, the three that all got contract extensions, the first one that went down was this guy, right? Kyler Murray. Very sad to see. You don't want to see anything happen. You may not like him as a quarterback. You may love him, but it's sad. What a rough year, this guy. I mean, that sums up his whole season. Since the day he held out or whatever he was fighting for to get that big dollar and all that publicity around it and the contract weirdness of it, and then getting through summer and not playing, no exhibition preseason games, and then just trying to show up to a season. It just never, it was complete chaos from the start. And that's not just Kyler Murray's fault, because there's some blame there, but that's the whole organization, man. You did not handle this offseason well, but that's really sad. All right. So the guy is fighting through it, trying to mature himself through this process of a big dollar contract and trying to win and, trying to shift gears and grow through stuff. Public media is after him, and former players are after him, and he's trying to play it on the down low and all this stuff. And then he blows out his knee, right? It's over. It sucks. I mean, what a rough year. 2022 for Kyler Murray. He got his dollars, and we're not going to cry over, and feel sorry, because the guy is set for life, and he's got his grandkids set for life, like the whole thing down the line. That's the best part of it for him. But it's pretty rough, this is for a career and everything that you're dealing with on the big platform. It was sad to see. I mean, what was your reaction when you realize this guy is on a golf cart or a cart leaving the field? That's never a good sign. But at the same time, he wasn't really having a good year. It hasn't been good for Kyler for what? If you want to go back to last season when they were undefeated and when things fell apart at that point, right? It's been pretty bad. I mean, they're 1-12 at home. That's unheard of at State Farm Stadium, Cardinals home game, right? It's ridiculous. We'll talk more about that in a second. A lot of talk about coaches, but this guy right here, Sean Payton itself, guys, can we put this to rest a little bit here? Why would this guy come here? Now that Kyler's out, this is a bigger problem. You're not getting Sean. I mean, if Sean takes this job, I'll be shocked. The guy wants to win. This is not a winning team. There's a lot of problems. Can Sean fix it? Is he into it for like three years of patching this stuff together? He's not going to get his quarterback back. He's not getting Kyler Murray back for late into next season. Kyler's got to, he's got to heal. He's got to get strong, and you just don't come right back into it, right? So it's going to take a while. And is he ready to go at some point next season, right? A lot of uncertainty there, right? So who's the quarterback, right? Who's going to be there? What veterans? It's like, right, Steve Keim may not be there now. We'll get to that in a second, but wow. Sean Payton, if you get big dollars for this and you have more control and you're trying to do it your way for the first time in your life as a coach and everything around football, all right, I can accept that. But man, it's gonna be a journey to pull this one together, right? But in the NFL, if you think about it, teams go from last to first pretty quickly now, right? So maybe, but you need a quarterback. And I just ran off a bunch of teams that need quarterbacks next year, or at least they're going to be looking for a quarterback. So Cardinals, you're part of that big list. And how many bodies and quarterbacks are out there? We'll have to wait in the offseason for the Cardinals itself. And we'll talk more about the Cardinals itself. And again, this is right before the game. The guy's praying last Monday night, but I feel bad for him. I was the first one that I can recall that was all over Kyler Murray being picked as a number one pick. I did not like it and everything that played out, right? But I'm not going to sit here and just rip on this guy that way. It's just not the time and place. We know what happened. We know what's been going on, right? We'll get into that in a little bit too. But let's break down the Cardinals off the top, right? Because this is one of the big stories. Cardinals have been a big story all off season into the season, and it's never really been good. It's been, the publicity has been everything down, right? Everything has been negative, controversial. Headlines love it, but at the same time, you didn't win, so it really compounds itself, right? So watching Hard Knocks, it's just like you're just watching for other storylines, right? And you can see the storylines in Hard Knocks that are trying to feel the feel good stories, right? Because they got a losing team that wasn't winning, and they can't play that up. They got to play this other story, the other sadness, get into your heart, emotional part of it. You can see how it's all playing out in Hard Knocks. But your thoughts on that too. All right. Got my sponsors scrolling across the bottom of the screen itself. Check them out also. And I'm going to move on. All right. We'll get back to my sponsors in a second, but you can see them at the bottom of the screen. Every team in the NFL has 4 games remaining now. All right. So, and only one playoff berth has been secured. The Eagles, 12-1, becoming the first team clinch a spot in the postseason last week when they beat the Giants. And let's see, one or fewer playoff berths were clinched entering week 15. So this is the 5th season since 2002 that a team has clinched this early. So the Eagles, for real, they got the hot quarterback. Is he just as good as Mahomes, Jalen Hurts? So why? Yeah, he's doing it, right? Maybe this is what the Eagles got. They got their version of what Jalen Hurts of Mahomes is, right? So at this point, there are 5 teams who missed the postseason last year. 5 teams that are currently in the playoff position: Baltimore, Miami in the AFC, Minnesota, the Giants, and Washington in the NFC. And there's a bunch of teams still on the outside of the bubble that can very well get in with, these are 4 games remaining in the NFL season. But since 1990, though, 32 consecutive seasons, at least 4 teams have qualified for the playoffs in every season that were not in the postseason last year. So history is repeating itself. So we want to get back to your Cardinals about how horrible it is that maybe a guy like your Sean Payton or somebody can come in here if Cliff Kingsbury's not here, right? And maybe can flip this right back into something positive and good. 4 teams make it every year that weren't in the playoffs a year ago. Well, the Cardinals now are looking at next season to being one of those 4 teams. Since 1990, it's happened a whole bunch, right? 32 consecutive seasons. Wow. Impressive stat there. In the past 12 seasons, though, including each of the past 4, a team with a losing record after 13 games has qualified for the postseason. So if you're a team with a losing record, don't count yourself out. It's right there. So the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are 6-7 right now. They're looking like a team that can still make the playoffs, right? Division-wise. And the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions with Jared Goff. Yep. That guy. Winners of the 5 of their last 6 games at Detroit Lions. And wow, how things have flipped around in Michigan with their Wolverines. Now the Lions is a good football life in Michigan. Really good football life. All right. There are 5 teams, Chicago, Green Bay, Las Vegas, Seattle, Washington, who finished with 3 of their last 4 games at home. There are 5 teams, let's say Cardinals, Dallas, Detroit, Los Angeles, the Rams, that is, the New York Giants, who are scheduled to finish with 3 of their final 4 games on the road. So make note of that. If you're a Dallas Cowboy fan or Detroit Lion fan, you're going to be on the road a lot, and that could make a big difference if you can win on the road, and especially those Lions trying to get back into a playoff spot for the first time in many years, and the Dallas Cowboys for the 2nd consecutive year in a row getting back in. And that's something unusual to say, but it's really the case. Each of the Cincinnati Bengals' final 4 games, though, are against teams currently in playoff position. That's a tough task, trying to win the division with the Ravens right there, while 7 other teams will face a team currently in a playoff spot. 3 of their final 4 contests, the Bengals have the toughest schedule. And if they can get through it, they deserve it. And they truly do. And but we have a lot to see, a lot to happen, a lot of storylines coming up. One more note, though. The average NFL final score of margin is 9.5 points. So it's the lowest in the NFL since 1932. The final score margin of 9.5 points is the lowest since 1932 when it was 9.13. And that's when they didn't basically they didn't throw footballs, right? It was all about the other part of the run, right? Just not the game today. So the state of football, we're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about your Cardinals, and we're going to get into, soccer and baseball, some other stuff too here. But it doesn't really impress me that the NFL, where is the NFL? A lot of people are saying it's like the NBA now. Soft, it's not impressive. The game has gone completely the other way, and it's not the game that a lot of people grew up with, where you want some physical contact, you want some toughness in the game, you want some brutes and some bullies. It's sports, right? You got to have that. Hockey still maintains that for now. We'll see what happens in hockey, but when your score of margin of is 9.5, the lowest in 90 years. This is 90 years ago. And you're playing with all these rules, but is it because everybody's scoring? No, the NFL is down. There's a lot of low-scoring games. I was telling you this early in the season with all the different offenses, with all the bubble stuff. Everybody's caught up. The league is caught up to that system of offense, everything. The Rams, everybody's been caught up to the Rams, right? That was a hot spot for a while, okay? Cardinals, too. You try to get on it, but you got on it at the back end when things are slowly starting to get caught up in the NFL. And now everything's caught up, and you're seeing what you're getting on the field. You better have a defense. You still better have a running game. Still better have an adequate or above average quarterback, at least at this point, to win some football games and be very serious. Just take the Seattle Seahawks. Because it's not like, they're a good team, but they got a running game. They got a good defense. They got an adequate, above average quarterback this year. And they do have a great coach too. So, but see, it's the formula. That's how it works. Okay. All right. So the Arizona Cardinals, one of those teams that definitely could be looking for a quarterback now. If Kyler Murray is not ready, and what his timeline is, and hopefully he heals and he's back. But how fragile is he? Can he hold up? These are the questions. He's been breaking down, getting hurt ever since he's been drafted, every season, and it's getting worse. Running quarterbacks, this is what happens to you. And he's not the biggest guy, so there's more abuse. And his injury was a non-contact injury. What does that say to you also? All right. But the one thing that we're hearing a lot out of the Cardinals, after everything has been going on, there have been some great leadership from the players. J.G. Watt, Colt McCoy, right? The quarterback. There's some leadership going on. And what I'm hearing more and more all this week, this is what I'm talking about, is character. Cardinals are talking the character talk right now. It's about the rest of the way, the rest of the season, the leadership of players, coach, whoever it is, right? But you've been hearing it more, is to finish strong. Don't quit, because this is the time where players are going to get soft. They're not going to play hard. They're going to worry about their next contract. Or there are guys out there who are looking for their next contract and want to prove themselves that don't get enough playing time. It's not going to be pretty. But who wants to play hard? Who wants to tackle? Right? Remember Patrick Peterson when he knew that he was contract? It was like he was doing some OAs out there, for the last 2 seasons as a Cardinal, right? It looked like he was watching himself. We saw that. But we're probably going to see that a lot of that around the NFL. That's common, right? Wouldn't you want to protect yourself? You don't want to blow out your knee, then you got to wait another year or something. Like you want one more big contract. You got to get that one next contract, especially if you're a guy that doesn't make the big bucks, but you can make some good dollars and you don't want to get hurt. But the Cardinals and leadership are trying to form something to go into next season. Can they pull this off? Can this be a success of character? The spirit of competition. Don't give up mentality. Building that character goes into next season. Yes, guys will be risking some stuff out there, right? But the Cardinals are talking that, and I liked it. I'm just happy to hear it, but let's see how it plays out. The There's a lot of work to be done with the Cardinals, right? So the start of this season was very similar. The Cardinals got out of the gates, and they are looking okay. They didn't have their D-Hop for 6 games, right? Kyler Murray was cold, right? It wasn't like he was lighting up the scoreboard, and they didn't really have Kyler Murray, but they were able to weather the storm early on. They were right there at first place. They were right at the top of the division, and they got through the week 4, week 5 of the season. And unfortunately, December came early for the Cardinals, if you know what I mean. December, that fall off of the past few seasons with the Cardinals seemed to show up in October, somewhere in October. Like, it just seemed like as much hope as you had to find one more win and put together a winning streak that never really happens, right? Or happened to the Cardinals. It just got worse and worse. It just fell apart more and more. And everything seemed to come a lot sooner in that department than the wins, right? So this team had the usual good start, great start for what they were up against, but the real story was coming, and it came a lot sooner. And so like 2 months earlier at least. And that's pretty much how it sums it up for the Cardinals. Cardinals looking for a quarterback for next season, right? Colt McCoy, could he be the guy? Could he hold the fort? We get some big wins and keep them relevant until Murray gets back, and Murray is just a lightning rod and things just get to the next level. Maybe that's the case. Maybe that's the storyline. Maybe that's what you're hoping for. Can Colt hold down the fort? Yeah, but you better get an offensive line, and we'll talk about that a little bit too. There's a lot of things I got to get done, a lot. But, Kyler Murray, when he gets back next season, Cardinals probably going to be looking into the quarterback situation just to make sure. Because if Colt McCoy gets knocked out or hurt, right, then what do you have? McSorley? Like, you need something. Got to find somebody. That's the Cardinals for next year. So, and the body of Kyler Murray, when he gets back, is he able to roll out the way he is? Is he able to be the same quarterback? You expect that, but this is a pretty good serious injury. And Murray's strength is his mobility, right? He's got a nice arm, right? It's just the other stuff that screws him up. But his legs saves him. And if your legs are beat up and you just blew it out, we got to wait and see, and hopefully the Cardinals can do something about that and buy some time as Murray gets healthy, because they're stuck with him. They're stuck with him. All right, now Steve Keim, general manager, is he resigning? Is this the way to get out? Or is it the way he's going to go out between him and his good buddy Michael Bidwell? Steve says he's got some health issues, at least the Cardinals report that, and he needs some time away. It's December, season pretty much done, and everything's on the wall that Steve Keim was told it's over. It's over. And either they were going to announce that he was fired or take the other road and say, hey, you need a break. You need a break. And we're going to tell everybody you need a break. Is it like physical? Is it mental issue? Like, what is it? Mental health issues? Like, what's going on there, right? I don't care. The guy's not there, and hopefully they don't bring him back. He tried his hardest. Steve Keim, the general manager of the Arizona Cardinals, tried everything he thought it was what he was doing, and he had a couple of hits. He got a couple of wins there, right? He had a couple of flash moments, but the other stuff. Now it bottomed out. It was only so far he could have gone with this, and it bottomed out. Financially, it's a mess right now, folks. It's kind of like a mess. Kyler Murray's contract will balloon like in year 3. Year 1 and 2, the Cardinals have some wiggle room to use some money. But once that third year hits, man, can Kyler do something with that contract for the better of the team? Can you bank on that? Literally? All right. He's, the way I look at Steve Keim, and folks, I was on this guy from day one, from the first day he was drafting football players for the Cardinals. And it didn't, to me, every year I didn't like him. I didn't like anything, how he handled the draft every year, right? Got a couple of guys here and there that play, but a lot of bombs, a lot of disasters, a lot of wasted second round picks because there's a lot of they're not there, right? Like, where is Rondale Moore, folks? Rondale Moore, he's the next Tyreek, right? Whoever said that, I saw a whole bunch of you say that. Wake up, right? Like, you guys were still getting the Kool-Aid, right? And there was all sugar in it, man. See, I don't drink that crap, okay? Steve Keim thought he had it right. Like myself and many others, we didn't believe it. We were seeing it. And I'll tell you why. The roster. The roster, in many ways, that depth on that roster was not good at all. Because when you draft poorly, and I mean poorly, when you may hit one, like Isaiah Simmons is on your team, he's starting. Zaven starting, but they're not blowing it up. They're doing some decent things out there, but these are your first-round draft picks. Even Kyler Murray. Right? It's like, where are you now after all these first-round draft picks? Where are these guys? How far they've come along? And you're all saying, we got to wait and let them grow and develop. This is the NFL. And if you're a first-round draft pick in the first round, that high of a pick, right, you better be that guy. It's not the player's fault. It's the guy who's choosing it. Right now, Isaiah Simmons was the so-called no-brain pick. But are they using him right? Are they using Zaven Collins right? Right? It's a lot. There's a lot there. And that's because of Steve Keim. Now you can go into the second round, the third rounds, right? All the way down the line. But not once did they draft offensive linemen. When you draft a number one quarterback overall, when you do that, folks, man, don't you go protect the guy? Don't you go and protect Kyler Murray? Every team that goes and gets their first-round quarterback early will start going after offensive linemen. In a year and 2 years, they're going to patch it and put it together and get some young, good bodies in there. They all do it. Not the Cardinals, not Steve Keim. To me, that's the big failure right there, because you should have known there's handicaps with Kyler Murray, right? You should have known that, unless you just so far up something else that you didn't see it. But Kyler Murray needed some help. Offensive line. He needed a running game. It's ironic, when the running game was successful last year, Cardinals won, man. There was a balance. It took some pressure off. The offensive line wasn't being, beat up by a pass rush because, hey, there's no running game. But your offensive linemen, is there really anything good out there? They're good offensive linemen, average, I guess. You think DJ is like this great offensive tackle? No. They wasted money on that. Another wasted money. Nice. Could have done maybe something else, or get rid of him and bring somebody else in, because it wouldn't have been much of a difference, right? And you could have saved money there if that was the case. But why didn't you draft well? What was your vision? You went after every receiver that you thought was on the board, and where are they? The only ones that are succeeding is the Hopkins move, right? AJ Green was a flash in the pan, right? I mean, everything is like, you had Larry Fitzgerald that saved your butt. That wasn't your guy. Dennis Green, hello. But you wasted so much when you should have been protecting your quarterback. You should have loaded up in year 1 and 2 with young studs. You went deep in, and then you go after Mason Cole. He's not even on your team. He's on the Steelers now. Like, even the guys that you drafted, you couldn't keep as an offensive lineman. Horrible. Steve Keim, thank you. Whatever it is, if you're dealing with something, get well. All right? And hopefully you can look back and see what has happened here in Arizona with the Cardinals, and you can do something else better somewhere else, because I don't think the fans want you back. And hopefully for the Cardinals organization, for the fans, right? because the fans do matter. Move on. And hopefully it's moving on. And hopefully this was the first one. And the way it's been handled, I'm okay with it. If it's just a facade of what's going on, who cares? Bring somebody else in. New blood, new vision, right? And I'm going to talk about your quarterback still. I'm going to talk about your coach still. But for me, it all starts at the top. It started at the top with your ownership, who believed in a general manager that he hired, and it's demolishing itself, right? Imploded. So yes, the ownership takes own. Yes, Bidwell. Yes, you believed and trusted in this, and hopefully you got to the point where you say it's over, and you took the reins of that horse, and you changed, and the change is happening. I hope. But for Steve Keim, the way you built this team, or trying to build this team, never was working. You were hanging on with Matt. You were just hanging on, right? Having splash moments. That's all you got to show. Okay. Steve Keim's leave of absence is speculated that he's, moving on or not fired or whatever. Every opportunity to resign, though, is there. Hopefully, he does. But it's best, though. It's best, and it has to be. It has to be. Okay. Your thoughts on the Steve Keim situation, and let me know. Out of the 3 Ks, though, Kingsbury, Keim, and Kyler, Steve Keim is the most logical one to blame, though. I believe it starts from the top, like I said. And these things happen, and maybe getting too involved, but when your general manager is using your money, if you're an owner, to build a roster, making decisions on talent, young talent, recruiting or scouting, it's clear that Steve Keim was never the right guy. He really wasn't. And for whatever reason, Michael Bilbo believed in him and gave it his best. So you can't complain that that's what they thought and believed in, but hopefully they can move on. Okay. Now, you can say they got to the playoffs last year, and you can look at some of the little things like that, because it was little, because they didn't really show up in the playoffs, right? What if, or so close, or kind of stuff that I've been hearing. I've been told by many fans that I'm too hard, I'm too negative, and I wasn't trying to be. I just kept seeing things that just wasn't. I was hoping for the best. I got fooled last year when they were undefeated at one point. I thought, all right, maybe something finally got clicking here. Even if it was 1 year of magic, take it. But who's to take credit of those great moments? Is it Steve Keim? Yeah, give him some credit. Put some pieces in there, right? Kingsbury? Yeah, why not? He's got to have some good credit to this. It's not all bad. Kyler Murray, big time. Because Murray did a lot on the field. He had to execute or use his ability. So, but all 3 of them, you got to give them some love for that, okay? But it wasn't going to get to the next higher level. Who's out next? Right now, you don't have Keim. That's what it looks like. Kyler Murray is out for a very long time. So now you don't have a quarterback. So now the 2 of the 3 Ks are done. And then this Cliff Kingsbury. All right. Well, all of them a little bit positive, right? Like I said. Kingsbury? The influence on the roster, did he have much to say? Did Cliff Kingsbury get more leverage in his new contract that he got? His extension? I always wondered how much say Kingsbury really has. And will he get more that the potential of another general manager, a new general manager coming in, where is his coach? Or does that new GM said, I'm getting my guy, my coach? This is getting shaky, folks. This is starting to fall apart. Because if the GM goes, then the next guy is going to look for his own coach, or may just give it 1 more year. Who knows? Until it finds the right guy. This is going to be very interesting. But I would have to say Coach K said, he pushed buttons. He wasn't, folks, you're hard on him. But you got to realize something with Coach K. He never had an offensive line. He had a patchwork running game. He had a handicapped quarterback that he did. I mean, his play calling, yes. His play calling, yes. But at the same time, will we ever know how much he could have done with a much better offensive line to be more creative? Because last year, when things were clicking at one point, he was his play calling wasn't bad, folks. It was pretty good. He was able to do things that he wanted to do more of. Get down the field, stretch the field, right? He had it all over the place. And I don't think Cliff Kingsbury has been given the bullets that you think he's been given. I think it's just been some patch stuff here and there. And this season, for sure, it's been a mess. He's never really had a team. It's been chaotic. It's been never unified. So I'm going to give Cliff Kingsbury another year or so. Like, I'm going to give him a chance. I want to see what happens. But you better get offensive help right away and go draft. You got Kyler Murray for 4 more years. You still got a chance to get some immediate offensive line help. Focus on that. Start with your offensive line, your defensive line, okay? Get the boys in the middle, right? Get that situated right away, and everything else will start to play out a lot better. So this year alone, the Cards are the lowest paid defense, folks. The lowest paid defense. Now, did Coach K have anything to do with this? Did he push the envelope for what he wanted, or was he ignored? Did Steve Keim just say, you know what do you want, Cliff? What do you want? And they just try to piece together the draft for what Cliff wanted. Now with that new contract, I don't know how much say he has now because it didn't go well. But that's something that we're going to have to see in the offseason for the Arizona Cardinals, okay? Your thoughts real quick. I'm going to get more into it. That's the Cardinal side of things. I got Todd. I got Vince in there. I got Joel. And not Adrian Wilson. No way was he he was a great player, but he's not a general manager. You know what? I believe, Joel, you may have something there. I do. Everybody's on it because of his namesake. I don't know if Adrian is that guy. We won't know, and maybe he deserves a chance because he's been doing the time for it. But I do feel you, Joel, because I do feel that I don't know. It's like, ugh, after what the Cardinal fans went through. Christine says, yes, he did. Marcella's in the house. Mary's in the house. How are you? David Robles, how you doing, David? Stephen Harris, Dave Hoffman, Susan Addison in the house. Hey, Susan. Dave says Cards would have to pay about $18 million a year combined of Kingsbury and Payton. That won't do it. You're right. It's not happening, folks. I mean, it's not happening. Sean Payton coming here because he had a little ball boy moment in St. Louis. If something just breaks in the way that it could happen, it'll be a miracle. And maybe it doesn't guarantee anything, folks. This team's still broken. It's broken. It's broken. And you don't even know what this roster's going to look like next season. There's a lot of guys. There's veterans that are not going to be like, and there's some good spots. There's some, Cameron Thomas, man, coming on. You got Zach Allen. So there it goes. I mean, JJ Watt, your leadership is valued. And if you can take another contract that is not as much, that'll be great. Because you've schooled and mentored these 2 young football players, and they're shining. There's no doubt about it. The Cardinals may just have something there with Thomas and Zach Allen. Now they need something more in the middle, and they also need somebody as a middle linebacker, right? Like they need some interior defensive help, mind you. Okay, all right. Who else is saying stuff here? Paula in the house. Okay, Paula. Who I got? Cindy. Hey, Cindy. And Dana and Verna down in Tucson. There's Sarah, also down in Tucson, Sarah Thomas. And Lisa in Iowa. Hey, Lisa. Is it snowing up there in Iowa, man? It's got to be cold. Got to be cold. All right. I got my boy coming in right now is Mark Mancini. We're going to talk more, guys. Got a lot more to go. I mean, boom. I just talked about your Cardinals, man. And it's all about getting ready for next year. Okay. It's okay. Just enjoy the rest of the season. Hope nobody gets hurt and messed up because you're going to need some bodies. And got no quarterback, probably not a GM, right? Looks like. And who knows if Kingsbury's around, but I don't think he's going anywhere because that money, and it's going to be hard to replace and add and all that stuff. Okay. All right. Let's bring in Mark Mancini, the madman himself. How you doing, Mark?
Oh, it's always a pleasure. This is the show that's sweeping the country. The Throwdown on Thursdays, baby.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, man, I'm excited. I want to see France kicks Argentina's ass on Sunday, the final. Getting excited with that. You know, I worked for some of those Argentinians, man. They can be a little arrogant there.
Yes, you are so true.
They can be, a little snooty. So, and I'm not a big Messi guy. I mean, he's a choke artist. So let's see if France can send him to the wayside like they did a few years ago and beat him like they did 4-3.
I'm looking forward to that Sunday. We're going to talk the World Cup, at the bottom of the show with you. We got so much to say about that. But what a great matchup. Messi and Mbappe, when you have mega superstars playing in the World Cup, that's always that's awesome to see. I'm happy to see that. I was hoping we'd get one of those kind of matchups, and we got it. Messi's been playing good. He's got all these goals. He's got that magical World Cup running him right now. But France is really good. But we'll talk more about that. Hey, Mark, we're talking football still, American football, and the NFL is pushing more than ever flag football. The NFL and the International Federation of American Football, IFAF, yesterday announced the 5th team of global flag football ambassadors to amplify and support the long-term growth of the game worldwide, football, through flag football. NFL ambassadors will work together, former players and players, to further raise the profile and promote the unique values of one of the world's fastest growing sports. I don't know about that, but I mean, it's growing, but it's been growing for a while. Flag football ambassadors team first announced ahead of the NFL kickoff weekend early this year. NFL and IFAF to increase awareness, interest, participation in flag football, internationally, I should say, and drive forward the development of the game. The development of the game through flag football. Think about that. Now, where is this sport going, Mark? Guys, the future of the NFL. When I played football, for one, the only thing we got close to was two-hand touch, which we did in the street. But we were always ready to load up and tackle. Sometimes we just tackled without pads on in the middle. It wasn't like it was either we tackled or we played touch, depending on our mood. But it was always contact, and that was the game that we all grew up on. Now you're going to encourage the game of football, but flag football. These kids don't know contact. But look at the game today, how the game is being ruled and dictated with the new rules and the protection of the player and everything else. The game is like the NBA, man. It's the Ole. It's soft. It's wide open. And, offensive numbers don't mean anything to me. They don't. I'd rather see defensive numbers. Yeah. But it's because it's soft. And it's going to get softer in my eyes because if you're breeding this way, if this is how you're going to raise your babies into the NFL, man, if I can find a couple of dogs and bad boys who can just smash, I will take those. And I'll take some penalties with it. But, man, because they're going to light them up. And, unless the league goes completely flag. But this great sport of gladiators are fastly becoming the passive-aggressive type, or simply passive, the way this is trending. Because even the players in today's game, they cry over the littlest things. Even the quarterback stuff that you're watching in, these roughing the penalties on quarterbacks that are barely even anything or controversial. Right? It's becoming way soft, and now you're promoting flag football more than ever. And these are the ones that are going to be your NFL players in about 5 years or 8 years. Like, think about this, man. Mark, am I wrong on this? Am I off on this?
No, I think you're right on with it, because I think what's going to happen here is the lawsuits are coming in now, and they're suing the NFL, and nobody's going to be able to insure these guys. All these guys are coming out of the woodwork now. The NFL never took care of them. So now the lawsuits are coming in, and I think the way you're going to have to go is you're going to hear flag football. We kind of grew up with flag football a little bit, but then when we got to the beach, we get around up with some guys and get out there and tackle in the sand and stuff like that. But if they're not going to protect the players with some, great helmets and everything, so there's not these many concussions, because we can lose Matthew Stafford after this year, my friend. That's going to be the big problem here. And the NFL turns, a blind eye to this. They don't acknowledge it. Roger Goodell has never stood there and seen what's happening, and it's coming in droves now. So I think the sport is people just don't want their kids playing it because this is where it's headed.
I agree. I agree with that.
Hockey, I always said hockey was the best sport growing up, because hockey at least took responsibility for it, and everybody had to wear helmets.
And then it went to face mask, and then
mask. You got rid of the Halloween mask as far as the goalies were concerned. Then you came in the face mask. So they've really protected the goalies. They've protected their players. The NFL's turned a blind eye on this.
Well, they've been catching up, and you're right about this. This is about protecting their game, but the product on it, like, we're gonna get older, but when we're long gone, the sport's going to be a lot different, and who knows how long it survives, or does it survive because this is how it's going to turn into, or is there going to be another league? Like, they're all trying these different leagues where there's no, it's the old school way of football, right? The one thing about humans, like in history, talking history, we can go all the way back thousands of years, right? The way we've heard and read and things is we like villains. We like fights. We don't turn away from a boxing fight or a UFC fight or a street fight. Even today, people pull out their phones and still want to enjoy watching something, and whatever. The movie Gladiators. I mean, the way it's portrayed, that's the human instinct for whatever reason, right? It's that, and this competition spirit of it, to beat your guy, right?
Yeah.
And beat him bad. Right. And, we're not asking for blood, but at the same time, it's to beat your opponent down. And in a physical sport, hey, I wouldn't mind going back to see a little bit Pat Riley and New York Knicks basketball, or a little Detroit Pistons stuff. I don't mind it. It's entertaining still.
And not only
it's villain stuff.
Right. When you look at hockey, we grew up with, I remember going to the old Forum and seeing the Flyers play the Kings, and they had amassed like 360 something minutes in penalties.
Crazy.
And they've curbed that. So, I think when you look at what, Bettman has done with the NHL, he's far and above what Roger Goodell's done with football. He's at least, got accountability in his sport.
Right.
Roger Goodell, when you look at Roger Goodell, it's been inconsistencies, to say the least, with the whole Ray Rice thing compared to what Deshaun Watson did. I mean, it's just, it's been gray areas mixed in with black and white issues.
Hey, I want to move into this other part of the NFL, just to close it out. I'm not a big fan of the NFL pushing the flag football stuff. I think it's just, in the state of Arizona, they officially announced, which is kind of cool, they're going to have girls. Official sport, flag football for girls at the high school level now, which is fine. I just wonder if it's going to go boys.
Well, here's the thing. Let's
wondering.
break it down like this.
But it's an official sport in the state of Arizona starting next school year. Flag football for girls.
So let's say you have a couple billionaires.
Right.
And now I'll probably throw an idea and somebody will snag it and run with it here. But you got a couple billionaires that got deep pockets. They start a flag football league in every city across America. You have a championship. Now, at first, it might be stupid. But, if you get more and more parents buying into that, where they're going to send their kids to develop that sport might give the NFL something to, it's not going to happen overnight, but these things, little by little by little by little, all of a sudden now, we've seen a lot of things in our lifetime that you thought
by
the wayside.
Hey, Mark, here are the NFL draft order right now. Okay. At the top of the show, I mentioned 15 or 16 teams that most likely are looking for a quarterback next year. Like they're not settled on what they have, right? Or it's very uncertain what's going on next year. All right, number one is Houston Texans. Of course, they need a quarterback, right? Then we have Seattle Seahawks are going to pick. Right now, they're second, right? They got that pick from the Denver Broncos, man. Look at the mess in Denver that you don't even have your second pick at this point. You know, things will change a little bit. But Seattle's number 2 so far, okay? Overall. Number 3, the Chicago Bears, okay? Are they okay with their quarterback? I don't know. I mean, if somebody's good there, they may want to take it. New Orleans Saints. Oh, no, not the Saints. The Eagles, number 4. The Eagles,
wow,
the hottest team in football, right? Are picking 4. They got that pick from who is it? The Saints, right? They acquired it from the Saints itself, and the Saints are a disarray team. Detroit Lions are getting pick number 5 at this point. They're on a playoff. They're right there. They got a shot, and they got that pick from the Jared Goff Stafford trade. And now, so the Rams lost out on that, and the Rams don't care because they don't care about picks, right? But they're in a mess right now, and the Lions on the up and up, right? And then it's the Arizona Cardinals right now are number 6. The Arizona Cardinals.
So your top 5 again.
2 of them are playoff teams at this point. A third one, or did I say? Yeah, the Eagles and the who am I saying here?
Seahawks.
Seahawks. But then you have the Lions are right there on the doorstep. Then you have the Houston and the Chicago Bears. Number 6 is the Cardinals. Obviously, you know what's going on. And do they go after a quarterback now because of is Kyler Murray, where's his future, and so forth. But I think offensive line is bigger on their list than a quarterback because Kyler will make it back. The Colts, they need quarterback help, right? Who else? The Raiders, Derek Carr looks like he could be on his way out. They may need a quarterback, right? I mean, we're still going down the line here on a couple of teams, right? Atlanta Falcons, Mariota just like walked off the team, right? The Carolina Panthers, we know what's going on there. And Jacksonville Jaguars, they're like the first team I mentioned other than the Eagles and Seattle that don't need a quarterback of the Jaguars at number 11, right? Houston Texans pick again. The Texans got 2 picks in the top 12. Then it's the Steelers at 13, the Packers at 14, the Lions again at 15, and Seattle again at 16. So a couple of teams go. This is at this point. So I just kind of give you a vision what's going on. But most of those teams need a quarterback. I think 4 of them probably don't.
Well, not only that, this draft is going to be something. This draft is going to be like 1983 as far as quarterbacks are concerned.
There you go.
You're going to have a lot of good quarterbacks coming out. But let's look at the Cardinals situation. And I've always said this, and you and I have been doing the show quite some time.
Yeah.
Can't keep track of it. I've always told you, you're not going to win with Papa Smurfs playing quarterbacks. And what I mean by that is you won't win in Miami. Miami might not make the playoffs because they can't win in cold weather. They'll be playing in Buffalo. They'll lose their third. They got to go to New England later on in the year.
Could be Cincinnati. Could be Cincinnati. Could be somewhere.
You're not going to win. You're not going to win with 2 in Miami. You won't win with Kyler in Arizona. You're not going to win with Trey Lance in San Francisco. You won't win.
Well, that's not happening now.
In Chicago. Well, yeah. Justin Fields won't give you nothing in Chicago. You might have something with Zach Wilson if you can keep him away from his mom's girlfriends in New York. But
I'm waiting on
these
Zach.
kind of quarterbacks you got to play. There's a real problem brewing in Arizona, and I think it's not so much the coach as it is the quarterback. The quarterback needs to go play baseball in Oakland.
Well, then he's not going to go anywhere because of that contract, and his first 2 years of that extension are pretty favorable for the Cardinals early on, but then by year 3 it balloons and it gets really bad after that. So for the 5 years, is Kingsbury the coach? General manager Steve Keim taking absence right now, and does he ever come back? Feeling is we won't see Steve Keim anymore, which is probably a good thing because I think it starts there also with how you build your roster, and your decision making really hasn't gone well. You had a couple of splash moments and that's it. But if a new GM comes in, can he afford getting rid of the head coach? Because there's some money there that was just paid to him, and you're going to bring another guy in and pay on top of that. It's going to, the Sean Paytons of the world. Who would want to come to this mess? First of all, you're not going to have Kyler Murray if he's your quarterback, because he's going to be out into next season. At some point, he'll come back in 2023 season. I don't know when, because we're December right now, and that kind of a blowout knee could take 8 months. Could take 9 months. I don't know how severe or how much he can heal, but where's your quarterback situation? And can Colt McCoy your guy? And who wants to go that route? And who's willing to work with Kyler Murray? And do they see anything in him that they want to work with for a while? I mean, it's a lot of questions there, right? So I'm glad you brought that up, man. It's but you're right. I was never a Kyler. I was holding out and waiting for him, but I was very hard on him the day he was drafted, just like you. Is just
you can't win with these kind of guys. And the same situations happening in Miami. This is the time of the season where they kind of go south, literally. They couldn't win on the West
Miami's
Coast.
got a defense. Miami's got some defense.
They got a defense, but they lost to the 49ers. They lost to the Chargers. They're going to lose Saturday in Buffalo. They still got they got Green Bay coming in there, and Green Bay, who knows what Rodgers can do?
I wouldn't chance that.
You got the Jets coming in there. You still got to go to New England, and when you look at Miami, if you look at the facts on the Dolphins, they're like 1 or 2 and 30 when the temperature is like 29 or
right.
So they've got problems. They're not So, and I think the Dolphins might be the team that gets knocked out of the playoffs with the Chargers coming into this thing.
There's a lot of football left. There's 4 games left, and there are a lot of teams on the outside, but just a game off, or they're out of the picture right now because of a tiebreaker, but they're right there. And one of them is the New York Jets, who just got hit with some injuries these last few weeks, and they're just hanging on like a wounded fighter.
Yeah, but the Jets are hanging in there in all their games. They can win on the road. They came up short in their last 2 road contests when they went to Buffalo and Minnesota. But a play here, play there, they could easily be 6-0 on the road.
They had the Vikings. You saw how that game ended. They had the Vikings beat. Here's the thing about the Jets quarterback situation. They're all over Mike White, but he's won just like 1 game. And when Wilson was benched, he was benched after that Patriot game.
Yeah.
Like Mac Jones wasn't really lighting up the scoreboard for the Patriots, but they didn't bench him. What I'm getting to is the only 2 losses as a starter for Wilson was against only the Patriots. He won all the other games. He had the Jets in a good spot, but the Patriots, just like any Belichick can do, is he was able to just manhandle the Jets. And that's a common thing. And Wilson just had another bad game against the Patriots again, like some teams do, quarterbacks do. But that's it. And they benched him for this popular thing. Mike White, who is like, what's his name? Foley? Was it Foley, the old Jet quarterback?
Nick Foles.
Well, no. It was the year Benny Testaverde was the quarterback for the Jets. And they went to the AFC Championship game.
Yeah. What Mark? Was it Mark
Sanchez? Glenn Foley. No. It was Foley, something. Anyway, it kind of reminds me of that.
Nick Foles?
No, not Nick Foles. He was the Eagles guy. I know it was a Foley. That's all. Anyway, the point is, you're falling in the same trap again, right? You should continue to play Wilson, the young quarterback. He wasn't losing. The Jets are now out of the playoff picture because you're playing the backup.
Well,
they fell out of the picture because of it. Now what?
The teams that are going to fall out of this thing, I think Miami's one, and I would be a bit surprised if Tennessee falls out of this thing too, because Tennessee kind of reminds me of Arizona and Miami. They can't put together a winning streak to save their rear.
Oh, yeah, winning streaks, yeah.
And Jacksonville could sneak in this thing. Don't count Jacksonville out. They're hanging around too.
Mm-hmm. Well, when you think about like the Cardinals itself, and I think Dave Hoffman said something here. I want to, and we can piggyback his comments. Hey, Kathy, Thomas Gutierrez. Hey, Thomas. Let's see. I want to make sure I get this commented. Kyler has been stunted. He really needed to go to an NFL system, not an extension of his college experience. Hey, Johnny Sims. Hey, Johnny Sims, the drummer. Remember Johnny? He was on the show. Let's see. So, Kyler Murray, you're right. System-wise, growth, development, he needed a lot more help. And this gets to my point. I'm glad Dave kind of popped this in my head because I forgot about this. Kyler Murray hasn't had a lot of experience in college, right? He played one real full year and won a Heisman. And anybody can win a Heisman now with one good year, right? It's just magical that way. But and his coach is also the guy who also has Jalen Hurts. He also had Caleb Williams, right? All these guys
Lincoln Riley.
Yeah, all these guys are Lincoln Riley's, quarterbacks, right? Anyway, and then he gets thrown into the NFL. He's got his handicap, Kyler Murray, right? He needed more time, and they just threw him right in. And things were supposedly magical right away, but like everything else in the Cardinals season, they would start off fast and die. And this year they died by October, right? So, but Kyler Murray just, he's still like, he needed 3 years of solid quarterbacking in a system that is working with an offensive line that can allow him to work it with some, think about it. He had Larry Fitzgerald and he wouldn't throw to Larry Fitzgerald, or the system wasn't throwing to Larry Fitzgerald. Like, it's just like complete failure at that point. And Kyler needed somebody else to pull him in. I don't know if Cliff Kingsbury was able to get to him. I'm not going to doubt that Cliff tried. I'm sure he tried because I've heard a number of stories that he did. But Kyler Murray, I think he was on his own path. And I don't think he was willing, just for what we've watched, he was limited. And you have to develop that guy a lot more in a system that way. You're watching this guy right now at San Francisco's Purdy guy, the last guy in the draft, right? How does he just step right in like this? Because they knew how this guy could fit into their system, right? This guy could he come to Arizona and do the same thing? I don't know. I don't know if
look at the same situation with the Rams. I'm not a Ram guy, but I'm a big Baker Mayfield guy. It just goes to show you the Rams' problems wasn't so much the offensive line. It was they had crap quarterbacks behind Matthew Stafford.
Right.
And Baker Mayfield comes in and you see what the talent does.
Yep.
The swag.
All right. Let's talk about some good stuff in Week 15. We're going to move us along, Mark, because it's already at the top of the hour.
Yeah, hail to the Hogs.
All right. Last week, Philadelphia Eagles 12-1 became the first team to secure a playoff spot. In Week 15, five other teams have done that. In the AFC, the Chiefs 10-3 can secure their seventh consecutive division title with a win, tying the Rams of 73 through 79, second longest streak of division titles in NFL history. Only the Patriots, 11 consecutive seasons, had a longer streak. With 2 touchdown passes on Saturday, Josh Allen will become the second player ever to record at least 2 touchdown passes in 10 consecutive games against a single opponent, the New York Jets. And then, let's see, not the Jets, the Miami Dolphins. He'll be playing the Dolphins, and he's had this great streak against the Dolphins. Ironically, he'll be joining Hall of Famer Dan Marino, who has 10 consecutive games of that kind of stat from the against the New York Jets, 91-97. All right, I still love Dan Marino. All right, ridiculously, the Raiders, Las Vegas Raiders, wide receiver. Check this out, folks. Davante Adams, even though he's played on been a rough year for the Raiders in a lot of ways. Never should have left the Packers, but it is what it is. He ties for the league. This guy, Davante Adams, is tied for the league in this season with 12 touchdown receptions, ranking third with 1,247 receiving yards. Yeah, Davante Adams, folks. If he was in Green Bay with Rodgers, we all would have been hearing about it. But for whatever reason, this has kind of gotten buried. And Davante Adams is still having a pretty freaking good year. All right. Additionally, the Buffalo Bills can clinch their 4th consecutive postseason berth with the tie for the second longest streak in franchise history from the 1960s Buffalo Bills. Their only longer streak was when they had made 6 consecutive playoff appearances in 88 through 93, those Super Bowl stuff there. The Vikings NFC team and San Francisco playing right now can win their respective divisions this week. The Vikings are looking for their NFC North title since 2017. The 49ers, first time since 2019, that Super Bowl run, right? The Cowboys, 10-3, can clinch a postseason berth this week and make the playoffs in consecutive seasons for the first time since 2006 and 7. That's the Cowboys. The Cowboys, right? Mark, so far, I got some other stuff for you here. Bear with me. The players with the most seasons with at least 35 touchdown passes in an NFL history. We go through Brady, Rodgers, Breeze, and Manning. Mahomes is at right now, he's 3 seasons, going to go for his 4th this week. He just needs 2 more touchdown passes and be part of that elite group. The players who reached 25,000 career passing yards in the fewest games in NFL history. Matthew Stafford, crazy or not, but he did that with Detroit. Dan Marino, they're my boy, Dan the man, 92 games. Peyton Manning with the Colts, 97 games. Kurt Warner with the Rams, Giants, and Cardinals, 97. And crazy as it may sound, a player with 25 career passing yards in the fewest games in NFL history, coming in at number 6, Jared Goff. Jared Goff. I know, right? Because he had a couple of big years with the Rams. He's having a pretty good year this year, right? Just keep that in your back pocket to talk about it a little bit. Players with the most passing yards in their first 9 seasons. Derek Carr is number 5 on a list of Matt Ryan, Peyton Manning, Dan Marino. Okay, that's Derek Carr. Another one like, what the? All right, yeah, Derek Carr, and he's going to be a free agent, right? Who wants Derek Carr? Wide receivers with the most touchdowns in the first 7 seasons in the NFL or NFL history. You got Jerry Rice, Randy Moss, Lance Allworth, still sticking around with that record there. Terrell Owens is in there, and Tyreek Hill. Not surprised. Tyreek Hill has been, he's been really good at that. Players at least 100 receptions and 1,200 receiving yards. Consecutive seasons in NFL history. All right, I'm going to go from the bottom to the top, right? We're looking at Stephon Diggs of Buffalo Bills. Yeah, he's now entering this legendary stuff. Michael Thomas of the Saints. Jerry Rice is at number 4 on this list. Number 3 is Herman Moore. Another Detroit Lion. Man, Lions are on this list here for some reason. They don't win. Marvin Harrison, number 2 on the list at number 4 consecutive seasons. And with 6 consecutive seasons of 100 receptions and 1,200 receiving yards, Antonio Brown. Antonio Brown was on a legendary, he would have surpassed Jerry Rice if he just wasn't a head case. But Antonio Brown. So I went Antonio Brown on the list. I gave you, Derek Carr on a list and Jared Goff on a list. I mean, some surprises there, right?
My buddy's texting me. He said he's got a Dan Marino signed Pitt jersey.
Oh, my God.
When he played at Pitt.
Oh, my God.
Damn. Yeah, I remember those. Yeah.
Folks, Dan Marino is the best quarterback ever. Not only the timeline he played in, but the way he changed the game, the way he called the game, the way he threw a ball. He was Joe Namath's bomb arm. He was everything Peyton Manning wanted to be because Peyton loved Dan Marino. He had a short game. He had everything. Dan Marino was hard to sack because he was a beast, but he had a finesse to him. But he can throw a bullet with the tightest spiral. He can spin it and put it through a window that was only a few inches. He was so good, folks. If you haven't had a chance to ever watch his highlights, fine. But when we watched him every day, you cringed that your team was playing Dan Marino because he would light you up. And he broke all those records that are being broken today. But that's an awesome signed jersey, by the way. Did I tell you my Dan Marino story?
No.
In the Orange Bowl. I'm a young guy, and Dan's at the time, and Dan wasn't too much older than me, right? He was right? This is Dan Marino, Orange Bowl, Don Shula, the Dolphins, going to the Super Bowl year against the Niners. All that was I was part of that run. So I'm in the locker room, young guy doing some radio stuff for a local radio station in Florida there. And Dan Marino's at his locker, man, in his towel, naked, and just came out of his shower after a game. And I'm like, I'm going up to Dan Marino. I'm going to talk to him. This is Dan the man, right? So I said hi, introduced myself, and he just put his arm around me, and like as if I was some little boy in a Coke commercial.
Yeah,
yeah, literally that's how I felt. And he's taller than me, but like he made me feel so small. But he just explained to me, he goes, "This is how I do it. I go and shower, I take care of myself, I get myself together, and then when I'm done, then I invite you all to my locker, and then we can talk." Okay. I'm like, all right. So I go back and I wait. By the time I turned around, it was like 20 media people with microphones. Today you have a press conference room. You don't do it at lockers anymore. You know what I'm saying? I mean, not a whole lot goes on in the locker room like it used to. But that was my Dan the man moment, man. We kind of like we had a moment.
No, and I was blessed to go to that Super Bowl. I think it was the year before, in '82, when the Dolphins played the Redskins at the Rose Bowl.
Yeah, but that was David Woodley.
Yeah, Woodley was there. Fulton Walker with the 91-yard or kickoff return.
Right.
And the Hogs wore them down. I think the final was 27-17.
Yeah, the Dolphins were winning that game. They were so close.
Yeah, that was the strike year.
Yeah, you got to give thumbs up to Don Shula. We all hear about.
I got in there for $20. $20 for the Super Bowl.
The following year or so, when Dan Marino got to the Super Bowl with
that was in San Francisco, I think.
It was, and I was in Miami, and I was with a ticket broker, a friend of mine. We went to the Fontainebleau Hilton down in Miami, the Fontainebleau, and we're in this nice suite, and he's got a stack of Super Bowl tickets. I'm like, wow, and I'm like, they're not fake, are they? He goes, no, I don't know how he did it. He's a ticket broker, dude, and they were $75 face value to go to the Super Bowl. But I'm like, I'm in Miami. I'm not going to go to San Fran. I don't want to get on a plane. I don't know why I didn't. I think I should have had a $75 ticket to go to
$75
Marino against Montana. How often do you get that matched up, And $75. Yeah, now it's crazy.
And it's unbelievable. And then I remember that one year, the Jets, I think, were on a roll, or Seattle was on a roll, and they knocked out Miami, the Raiders, and Broncos, I think.
Right.
Richard Todd
and the Dolphins. Yeah, that was who was quarterback in the Dolphins then? I'm trying to think. Was it Woodley? I think it might have been still David Woodley.
Yeah, that might have been something.
That was the same year, because that was the year they went against the Dolphins. The Redskins. Yeah, that's right. All right. Real quick here. This guy right here, Steve Wilkes. Does he keep his job next year?
I don't think so. I think you got to open it up. You got to get somebody like a Sean Payton in there. I think he's going to be, rumored to go to Indianapolis. Who knows where else? I think the other guy, and I really like the Raiders to win the division this year and represent the AFC. But McDaniels, he's not a head coach.
I have a sleeper with Sean Payton, by the way, and it just hit me when you just said that. Is not knowing the tenure of Mike Tomlin in Pittsburgh. It's been a long, long run. And I've heard some rumblings of,
Carolina, I've heard.
Yeah, and he almost walked away from Pittsburgh a few years ago and took a TV job, and somehow they brought him back in. Peyton would love to coach a young quarterback in a Kenny Pickett and an up-and-coming talent team with a receiver like Pickens, and that's the kind of fit Sean Payton would look for if it was there.
You're absolutely right, because I think when you look at Tomlin, it's hard to replace a legend in Noel. I think when you look at guys like Cowher and Tomlin, they're going to take you to a certain level. They'll probably get you a Super Bowl, but then they're just going to peter out. The voice gets tuned out somewhere along the line.
All right, speaking of the Steelers, since we're going to jump on it, Mason Rudolph hasn't even suited up, but he may be starting if Pickett doesn't play. And the the guy's been a great character. He's smiling, and I hope he gets to start. I'd love to see it, and I'd love to see a win for this guy, and it may launch him to another team next year, or maybe he is the backup and Trubisky is gone. I mean, it's kind of weird how this played out.
Let me tell you something. You can look this up. They're in 14 years. They've played 24 in 14 years. There's been 24 games between the Ravens and Steelers that have been cut by 7 points or less. That's amazing. And you know what? The Ravens now could have mailed these things in. Their last 2 wins have been nail biters, but they lost 4 of their losses have been the other way around, but where they've been stung at the end. I don't think the Ravens are as dangerous as the Bengals. So I'm going to kind of give the Bengals the division right now. But the Ravens can pull a surprise. I think in the NFC, nobody wants to play the Redskins or the Lions if the Lions get in.
I agree. All right, now we're going to shift gears, Mark, because we're in that 8 o'clock hour, and we're going to shift out. The big news coming down about an hour ago out of New York. The Yankees have signed their pitcher. They've been going after. Carlos Rendon is their New York Yankee. They have agreed on a 6-year deal of $160-some-odd million. He'll sit right behind Jarrett Cole, and it really does fatten up a rotation, with Nestor and Severino in there. I mean, it does change a lot. The guy had his great season with the San Francisco Giants, Rendon, and with that being said, Rendon itself, he had his best year, a contract year. Wait and see, but he does get dinged up. He's had his nagging injuries over the years, but you can't worry about that. But the Yankees got an arm they really needed to compete, because we're starting to see what baseball is going to be doing, like the NBA. There's going to be some dream teams, some heavy talent. We saw in San Diego what they are doing there. The Dodgers try to run that route, but now they're falling off on it because it's starting to catch up to them, right? Look what San Francisco is trying to do, right? Look what's going down in Houston, what they did to get their ring, right? That's what they did. Houston Astros went out and made some trades in the offseason and everything else, but they lost Verlander. I don't know how that's going to play out. The Mets, another team, loading up, man. This is how it's going to be, folks. And teams are not going to worry about the tax, because if you overpay, you're going to get taxed, and that money, millions of dollars, get shared with the teams that are below that tax line. It's kind of like spread out in a different way, and that's how they have a balanced lead when it comes to money. It's up to your team to spend that money, like the Diamondbacks. Like, you're getting money from these teams that are overspending, and you don't do anything with free agents. It's like, go get it. Go get somebody. Pittsburgh Pirates, go do something.
Well, not only that, let's start with the Yankees first, and we'll get into the Padres.
Rendon is a Yankee. Oh, yeah, they agree. So
but here we go with the Yankees, and I don't know how this guy's going to fare in New York. Is he going to be Ed Whitson, Hideki Arabu, Don Gullett? I mean, there's been a lot of guys that have come through New York and really haven't done anything. Sonny Gray. I mean,
that was a mess. Yeah, no, you're right.
Yeah, so
you're right. You're right. Absolutely
the
right.
Pressure gets to you. You can get by in Chicago. You can get by in San Francisco. I don't know how much that pressure gets to you in New York.
A lot.
And we've seen this as far as, you're talking about big teams spending money. The Padres are loaded for bear, man. I mean, they're going to move Cronenworth to first. They'll put Kim at second. They got Bogarts now at short. Machado at third. Machado can opt out, but the funny thing about it is Devers is a free agent next year, and he's good friends, and he's rumored to go maybe to San Diego next year.
Ouch.
You got Soto in left, Grissom in center. Tatis is going to miss 20 games and open up in right field. They got pitching.
You got Will.
And they got Hader in the bullpen. I'll tell you right now, the team that's like the two teams that haven't done nothing, and they're trying to address their fans with cream on their face and wiping it away. It's like somebody threw a pie at them, and they can't seem to clean their faces. The Red Sox and the Dodgers.
The Red Sox are a mess.
The Dodgers are too when you look at it too, because signing Syndergaard and not going after somebody like Stripling that eats up innings, that was 10-4 with the Blue Jays. is sending me a message that this guy's injury prone. Kershaw's injury prone. Urias is maybe a number 3 in some rotations. They have question marks all the way to the middle relief, to the back end of the bullpen where they have no closer. They've lost Tommy Khalil to the Yankees. Chris Martin's going to the Red Sox. You lose a defensive outfielder to the Cubs that you were offering the same amount of money. So maybe the Dodger money nobody really wants. They don't like the platoon system there. And all you have is Betts, Freeman, and Will Smith. There's no depth. The outfield is Trey Thompson, Chris Taylor, and Mookie Betts. Good luck with that.
Just remember, teams are also gearing up for Ohtani. And teams like the Padres spend a lot right now. San Fran, they just spent money on Correa too, like, and a couple other free agents, right? Who is willing to go outside the box, and because Ohtani's going to get his $300 million, like it's going to happen. And it looks like the Padres, I don't know how they have this kind of money and what they're doing.
They're
but
going after another starter too.
Yeah, of course.
They blew Manaea out. They blew out. Clevenger, they blew out. They'll get another starter.
They need
to go
pitching.
With Musgrove, Snell, and Darvish.
They need pitching.
Nick Martinez.
Blake Snell is aging now, and he's not a long-term pitcher in a game. He goes 4, 5, 6 innings, kind of guy. He's not a long-term answer.
Cornelius, you've done stuff with the Dodgers. I've covered them. Let me tell you something. If that season started tomorrow, the Dodgers would be sitting in there in third, possibility of fourth in the National League West. They're closer to the cellar than they are to going the other way.
Hey, if you're a Diamondback fan, you got to be loving it.
Yeah. Well, look at the Giants. The Giants got pitching, and the Padres got bats and pitching. I mean, this is going to get interesting. I don't think the Dodgers come close to winning 85 games.
Wow, that would be a disaster. There's heads rolling in there.
St. Louis tweaked it. They're rumored to get Swanson.
There's something to say, Mark. There's something to say to this too about the Dodgers. They've had a nice run, a nice core, but they're now Turner is. Where's he going to end up?
Well,
Bellinger's gone. I mean, when you still have a character of players that know each other in that locker room, it starts to dissolve and break up. A new body. You have to find but the leadership is starting to dissolve in that locker room as age and time.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And not only that, they're kind of going like the old Detroit Pistons. They're holding on to guys too long.
Oh yeah.
And they keep giving Kershaw big money, but they're losing depth. They've lost depth ever since 2017.
Mark, they're going to rely on pitching. They're going to find more pitching. They got some young arms, and that's the Dodger way, and they're going to find timely hitting.
You have time to develop arms in the middle of, two teams that are built to kick your ass.
That's their philosophy. They never really they had a home run hitting type of ball club and good pitching. That's how they survived.
Well, now they're starting to talk in LA. Maybe Friedman needs to go. Maybe Roberts needs to go. I've always said Friedman needs to go before Roberts needs to go. And here's the thing. Here's the thing. Bellinger was offered the same money to stay in LA. Why would he go to Chicago? Sometimes in life, in order to move up, you got to move on. Got tired of the platooning.
All right, we're going to move on too, since you said that. Sad news, Mike Leach passes away.
Yeah.
Okay, look at his branches of coaches that he was able to have under his tenure as coaches around really his whole career, right? And all of them have, I'm just putting a list of names up there. Some of them you may be familiar with. Cliff Kingsbury is even on that list. He passed away this week. I wasn't aware of it. I don't think a lot of people weren't aware of it until the news broke. And then 24 hours later, he was gone. But one of those great coaches, lovable guy. Definitely the media loved him. He always had something good to say, funny or quirky. But, he kind of fit the college mode, mode in one way. But sad to see him just go. Like, it's gone. Like, wow. Like, we always had a Mike Leach quote somewhere every week, right? But it's over. And but I wanted to give some recognition.
He kind of reminded me of O.A. Bum Phillips, maybe Buddy Ryan type.
Right.
Just he beat to his own drum. I kind of like those guys. And unbelievable,
yes, it is.
61, you know.
How about this, Mark? I used it last week, but I wanted to bring it back this week. I'm going to tap on it too. I'm going to show you. This is I would say the former quarterback of Notre Dame this past season or two here, Drew Pine. He will be entering the draft, the transfer portal. He's going to be in his last year going next year. Does he stay with Notre Dame? Should he stay with Notre Dame? And because Notre Dame should have a good team next year again, and get to the number one shot at number one. I mean, they're always around that, and they have a lot of talent, and you saw it this year as it came on strong. But he's leaving. My thought on this is a guy who knows that he's not going to enter the NFL draft, or his chances are not that great. I don't know. I mean, you stay with Notre Dame, but he's also going to bet on himself.
Yeah.
Go to another college, going to make a lot of money with that nil money. Go make some money, and maybe you still get drafted, and maybe somehow you turn into a Prudy guy who's on the Niners right now throwing some darts for the Niners. Because you're leaving Notre Dame, like the history of those quarterbacks there, like the history of that, and you're gonna like drop that to go somewhere else. Something's weird there. But I see the dollar signs. This is the problem with Caleb Williams leaving Oklahoma, because he followed his a coach or whatever and just took big money in his pocket.
Well,
what stops some kid to say, you know what, nothing guarantees me in the NFL, and I got 1 year, I can, somebody's going to pay me money to go to college somewhere. I'm going to do it.
Yeah. And then when you get in the pros, what are you going to be? You're going to be a Jamarcus Russell? Are you going to be a Gina Torretta? A Rick
if you
Meyer?
Get there. But you got the contract, though. You got the contract, though.
Yeah. That's the key here. I mean, we've seen guys dominate college, and then they get in the pro game, and they're like a deer in headlights. They're kind of like the eternal bum.
Now, deer in the headlights on this next player from the NHL, the Oven Kitchen, as I used to call him, because I could never quite pronounce his name.
Hey, how about my Penguins, baby? 15,
I know.
2-2, baby.
You had to bring the Penguins up when we talk about Ovechkin. 800 goals. He had hat-trick last night. He's third on the list. He's going to pass Gordie Howe, and eyes all on. It'll take him about 3 seasons to get to Gretzky. And he's got a shot. If he stays healthy, Alex Ovechkin, which I used to call him Oven Kitchen because it looks like Oven Kitchen on his but it's crazy because he's not as flashy and like glamorous like what you think of a goal scorer. But he scores. Thing. He's a goal scorer.
You know what? The Capitals have underachieved ever since he's been there. They got the one title, beating the expansion team in Vegas. He should have won more titles. I don't know if he makes everybody around him better besides himself, because I look at what Gretzky did, and I got to witness Gretzky play the game and made everybody better.
Right.
If you're going to compare this guy to Gretzky, I think it's foolish in more ways than one, because Gretzky did so much outside of the game, installing hockey in the Sunbelt cities on the West Coast and everything. Yeah. Ovechkin to me he's a Pierre LaRouche. I mean, he's a guy that can, a Jaromir Jagr that can score. If you're going to see goals be put in, that's okay. I don't want to say Mike Bossy, God rest his soul, because Bossy won titles, and that was a dynamite team, the Islanders. But when you look at Ovechkin, even if he passes Gretzky, he is not better than Gretzky.
You don't think so?
I don't think so.
Gretzky wasn't really a two-way player, though. He wasn't a two-way player, Gretzky.
Yeah, let me tell you, the hockey.
I think I'll take Mike Bossy over Gretzky, tell you the truth. I would take Mike Bossy. Because I thought Bossy was a better scorer. Bossy was a better scorer.
Well,
like goal scorer.
I would take Crosby over Ovechkin any day of the week.
Oh, I take that too.
Not being biased, being a Pittsburgh guy, but Crosby, to me,
I'll take
he's
Lemieux
not
over
only
him.
Talented, he elevates his teammates. Everybody that comes into Pittsburgh ends up winning a cup. You saw, the guys that fit into Pittsburgh in that nice run. Washington's got their chances in more ways than one, and they've fallen by the wayside.
Oh, I agree with that. The history is showing it. They got that one ring, and it was a tough battle, but Ovechkin does belong at the top somewhere. To say he's the greatest of all time, it's like LeBron James is going to have the scoring title, but you're like, really? Like, no, he's not. He's, what I'm saying, he's not the greatest because he has a scoring title.
Well, if you play, see, the problem is if you're playing in leagues and defense isn't a priority, then you can steamroll this. To pass Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, first of all, nobody's mastered the sky hook. So, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, matched up with the Wilt Chamberlains and all those guys.
Oh, it was the game was a big man game. Yeah.
Yeah. LeBron didn't have to really go up against a Jordan and a Bird and those guys.
There was nothing. Yeah. he had Ole guys. Hey, goal scorers, right? How about this? Oh man, it's my graphics a little small there. I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah.
But Jason Robertson of the Dallas Stars.
Leading the league in scoring.
Yep, he's the first Asian American or Asian, which I really don't like to say, but when you talk about hockey, it's like it's been Canadian, then American, then Russian, and Eastern Europe. Now we got Asian in here, and this is pretty cool. And he leads the NHL in scoring.
Glad to know, and I love the Dallas Stars on the western side of things. But it's nice to know that they let everybody know who they're playing for. That logo's takes up the whole shirt.
All right. Speaking about shirts or names on the back, these are the two big ones for Sunday. The World Cup.
I want to see France, man.
Mbappe, Giroud, the other Frenchman who was France is the defending champs. I had them winning it all, and I'm still sticking with it.
Messi will never be Maradona. The Argentinians, I think, look at Maradona much more different than they look at Messi.
I don't know about that. Did you see the video of thousands of people chanting his name in the street?
But you know what? Let's see those thousands and thousands of people when France beats Messi again, and the guy chokes for this guy. This guy's almost like Ovechkin in more ways than one. Can't seem to win the big games.
I agree.
Polarizing figure, but you can't win the big games. I know Ovechkin won one, but he should have won probably 3 or 4. And Messi can't even win one, even though he won the it the Euro Cup?
Yeah.
But finally won the Euro Cup.
You got to give Messi credit. Messi has for this World Cup. He's having the golden leg, I guess they call it, right? He's right there. He's scoring. He's been the guy. If it wasn't for Messi, they don't even get to the finals. He's the one making the goal.
France is a whole different animal, my friend.
Oh, they totally are. France is taller, just as fast. They're physical.
They got they got guys that can come at you too.
Yeah, Argentina is not the tallest and most physical, but it'll be an upset. It'll be an upset. It's France the champions, and they've been playing like champions and the whole time. And they took care of Morocco.
This France team reminds me of the team that took out Italy. And you know what? Let me just tell you, with soccer, I think there's going to be some real changes here in soccer. Not to have Italy in there after they won that cup and have them qualify. They should have got put into this thing. That to me is BS.
It's politics, man. Come on, we know this.
Yeah,
hey, go ahead.
And that's the thing. How do you not put them in? Colombia wasn't in there. I mean, it doesn't. It's going to be interesting the next go around. Mexico, United States, and Canada. I think the championship game will probably be here in the States.
But I do have the champion. I do have a champion for you.
You do.
It's the hottest World Cup fan ever.
Oh, I know where you're going. Wow.
The Croatian, the supermodel, who is just rocking the Islamic world of Qatar, who have a hard time keeping their eyes off of this lady. I got a series of photos of her. She is using that red card, literally. Look, I mean, the
Yeah.
photograph, you can see like the men in there already. And there's another photograph of her with, unfortunately, she's standing there, and there's
The
a
other guy's
Muslim.
dressed like Rey Mysterio.
But she's definitely tearing it up, and she's a model, big time model, and she's taking it to the next level. And but
You know, when you look at that, it's almost if they were orange and white, I would thought they took the field at Tennessee and put it around themselves.
Yeah, Ivana Knoll. Ivana Knoll is her name, and from Croatia itself. And boom, boom. I don't know how you can focus at a soccer game watching.
That's sponsored by Hooters.
Oh my gosh. All right. Another story, something really beautiful and heartwarming itself is this storyline of Ronaldo going out. It was very emotional. He cried when his team lost the other day, and losing his shot to get to the finals. And
Yeah,
his
I like
career,
Ronaldo.
what is he, 37 years old or something like that?
I would take Ronaldo over Messi.
A lot of people do, but that's his mom in the photograph, and his mom lives with him. I don't know if I have the quote. I think I have the quote for you here. I want to read it to you too, by the way. Yeah, I do have it. Okay, let's listen to this. This is Ronaldo, right? The photograph still on the screen? Yeah, it's still on the screen. Good. All right. In an interview, a reporter asked the soccer superstar, "Why is your mom still living with you, and why don't you build her a house?" Right? He says this. This is Ronaldo, the great one. My mother reared me up by sacrificing her life for me. She went to bed hungry to feed me. We had no money. She worked 7 days a week, worked nights as a cleaner to buy me a pair of football boots so I can play. My whole success is dedicated to her, and as long as she lives, she will always have everything I can give her, and she's my sanctuary, my greatest gift. It's clear that Maria Dolores dos Santos Aveiro has been a major influence in his son's life, Ronaldo. Ronaldo wrote, "Happy birthday to the best mother in the world, a warrior who always taught me not to give up, the best grandmother my children ever could have. And I love you so much, my mother," with kisses. Ronaldo has all this money, man. And when you hear storylines like this, we watched D-Hop's storyline with his blind mom who saw a sad, horrible, horrific story. But, players and connections with their moms or dads, high profile players, it's, they don't get so stuck on themselves. And you want to talk about these stories because family's important. And to see these guys still connect and still stay there. And I didn't know the story. I really didn't know.
Yeah, it's a nice one. What a way to end the show.
Well, I don't want to end it like that. I want to end it on a horrible note. This Iranian soccer player is going to be hung because he was protesting women's rights in Iran. We had that one soccer fan in Iran who was celebrating USA's win over Iran. He gets shot in the head. Wow. So when we talk about world peace and FIFA, right? Let me roll through this with you real quick because it sickens me, and I really want to end it this way to keep people thinking about it. This is Amir Nasser Azadani faces execution from Armenia after campaigning for human rights or women's rights and basic freedom in the country. We stand in solidarity with Amir and call for the immediate removal of his punishment. These are people talking for him. Remember, 2 weeks ago, a friend of his, Saeed Izzatollah, a member of Iran's World Cup team, was shot and killed early this month while celebrating Iran's loss to the United States. A friend of his. They need to be banned from the international competition, is what I'm saying, folks. I don't think Iran deserves to be in the Olympics. We're talking about human rights here. This is their country. Folks, if you believe in human rights globally, no matter what, there's got to be some type of unification with this. Iran has, other countries like this, just disgusting. Soon every country will be banned if we had this slow, because they have their own issues. I wouldn't say that, but if FIFA says we need to respect their culture, but everybody keeps saying we have to respect their culture. but there's corruption. There's corruption in FIFA. They're going with these underdeveloped, countries so they can get bribes and continue to make a lot of money. FIFA, so they keep throwing you this, unification, love, and peace. As the Olympics try to say that to you, and it's all been a scam and corruption, celebrating championships and in savage countries, and disrespecting with fundamental human rights. This is an outrage, folks, and this human being who's going to be hung from a crane in front of the people. This deserves basic human rights, just like a woman for anybody. This is the consequences of the Wahhabism that is extreme, which is extremism taking over the Islamic world, but it's getting offhand. This soccer player will be hung because of his protesting.
And when is that taking place?
Like maybe tomorrow. It's going to be it's going to be on the news again. They're going to be a photograph, and Islam teaches, the beautiful part of Islam, it teaches equal, and most of it is the Quranic texts, which give women freedom and rights. It does, but this extremism of Islamic is not what my friends who are Muslim. This is not their Muslim, right? There's an extremist group, and since the takeover of the extremism of Muslim, women itself have been treated like objects and toys, and fully, it's insanity. Iran is living under a dictatorship, folks. It's simple as that. And
remind us not to do a show there.
But not only that, Mark, internationally, sports in the world itself, why are we associating still with this without having a big stand? That's the point. This is corruption. It's fear. There's greed in it, with these people taking big money to, like North Korea or, other part. Like, it's crazy, but we're allowing this to happen, and they should be banned. And FIFA needs to wake their ass up, or the Olympics need to wake their anything international sports that involve countries. If you don't believe in human rights, man, that's just so disturbing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? All right, Mark, I wanted to end the show on something like that from people to think about.
I can't wait to do it next week, my friend. I mean, and then when we do it next week, you'll be doing the Christmas Eve, or is it the Tampa and Arizona on Christmas Day? Is it?
Yes, completely. And there's so much more to talk about in sports itself. And I wanted to really show you like a lot more, but we'll worry about that after the soccer stuff. But I'm going to be every morning next week, morning show all throughout the week itself. Hey, if you want to come on, it'd be great.
Yeah.
But throughout the next all next week for sure. We're going to lead right into the Christmas weekend itself, leading up to it, and then we're going to
morning
follow
shows. Okay, so no night show next week.
Probably not. We're going to probably do morning, do early morning. We'll work it out if you're coming in. If you want to,
you can do that.
And it's just for this holiday. I'm just going to roll with it. Okay.
Okay, my brother. I love you dearly. You know that.
Right. Yes.
I can't wait to see you next week. Doing a little of the mornings with Mancini.
Yeah, you got to get a cup of Joe in your hand and roll from there, man.
Little mornings with Mancini.
All right, man. We're gonna put the music up. All right, man. Mark Mancini, love you.
I love you, brother. Thanks.
We'll
for
talk
everything.
to you. See you next week. There we go. Hanna Time. Went into it big time. We talked about a lot of NFL stuff, a lot of Cardinal stuff at the top. Playoff football, baseball storyline. Yankees get Rodon, the pitcher. Some hockey news. We got into that a little bit. Soccer, FIFA, World Cup Championship Sunday. We're going to be watching that here in America with NFL football going on. A lot going on this week. It's a big sports weekend. Some college football games to watch starting tomorrow. How fun is that? I had a good time. Thank you for joining me. Cornelius Brad Hanna, right here on Hanna Time, Global Sports Broadcasting Network. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you on Monday morning.